Okay, we're on. So I'm going to call the June 14th, 2018 Board of Selectmen's meeting to order at 6:33. Town Manager Morrow, do we have a need for a non-public session?
Yes, we will, for personnel and for legal.
Okay. And I want to welcome Becky to the meeting tonight. This is her first meeting as our town manager, and we're excited to have you with us.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. The next item on the agenda are the minutes. We'll start with the May 16th minutes. And does anybody have any changes? I do. On page 9. On page 9, the second to last paragraph, the 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth sentence down, it says this increase will increase the anticipated deficit in, and it should be the fire truck and apparatus capital reserve fund, and then okay, and then you go to the next line, and it says to be purchased in, it's not purchased in the CIP, the program to be purchased based on the fire department spreadsheet in the CIP. It doesn't come out, it isn't purchased out of the CIP, it came from the spreadsheet of the CIP. And if you and I need to make wording changes, I can, but we need to make sure it's not coming out of that. And then on top of the next page, first sentence, she thought there would be enough money in, and it should say, in the fire truck and apparatus capital reserve fund. That's not, okay? Anybody else have any other changes? Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Next set of minutes, May 30th. Does any Board of Selectmen have any changes? Hearing none, can I have a motion to accept them as written?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the next set of minutes is June 1. Does anybody have any changes or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, can I have a motion to accept them as written?
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I will abstain. I was not present.
And we've got Dave Sencombe abstaining. All right, we're going to move on. Next items on the agenda are public hearings, and I'll open up the first public hearing. It's the Wolfeboro Area Recreation Association to hold a family event on July 1, 2018 from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Brewster Field. Is there, there you are. If you can tell us a little bit about the event, it gives you an opportunity for the public to hear what you're going to do.
Okay, it's our 12th year doing NICFest. We do it at Brewster Field. It's a family event. We have games and rides for kids. It's one of our fundraisers for the NIC. We're a nonprofit.
And you've been doing it for quite a number of years.
Yeah, this is our 12th year.
12
Yeah.
years. Okay. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak to this permit? Seeing none, I'd like to close the public hearing. Board members, anybody have any questions? Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the temporary event permit for Wolfeboro Area Recreation Association to hold their event on July 14th, 2018.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Have your permit?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to open up the next public hearing. It's the Back Bay Water Ski, Inc., also known as Abenaki Water Ski Club, to hold the 30th Annual New Hampshire Open on June 23rd, 2018, rain date June 24th, 2018. The 38th Annual Lake Region Open on July 21st and 22nd, 2018. The 27th Annual New Hampshire Championships on August 4th, 2018, rain date August 5th, 2018. The 17th Annual New England Slalom Championship on September 8th, 2018, rain date September 9th from 8 a.m. to sunset behind the railroad station. Can you state your name for the record and tell us a little bit about this?
Bill Swaffield for the Abenaki Water Ski Club. As you can tell by the way Linda brought those up, the 30th, the 38th, the 27th, the 17th, we've been doing this for quite a while in Back Bay, and it's turned out to be a great spot for continued yearly water ski tournaments for New England skiers. Strictly amateur competition. We've got skiers from ages of 7 or 8 all the way up to in their 70s, and they compete in slalom, tricks, and jumping. Except for the last one in September. That's just the New England Slalom Championships, slalom only that day. Normally we have about 40 skiers in each event, and it's a really fun way to watch some really good competitive water skiers going through the slalom course and doing tricks. Right now in our ski club we have Jake Abelson, who is the national junior boys trick record holder, and he won the Nationals, U.S. Nationals this past year, so he'll be competing in the first 3 tournaments. And we have a number of other great skiers who historically come each year to our tournament to qualify for Nationals and Regionals. And we also have actually Becky Bartlett, who won the U.S. National jumping title in her women's 3 division last year. So it's fun to watch. You can watch along the Bridge Falls path, and right where we start from, right there near the Bridge Falls path, right behind us here from Town Hall. So that's it.
Okay. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to this event? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Board members, do you have any questions or concerns? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
I move to approve the issuance of a temporary outdoor event permit to hold the 30th Annual NH Open on June 23, 2018, rain date being June 24th, to hold the 30th Annual Lakes Region Open on July 21 and 22, the annual NH Championships on August 4th, rain date August 5, the 17th Annual New England Slalom Championships on September 8, rain date September 9 from 8 a.m. to sunset behind the railroad station.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You have your permit, and thank you for doing this for all these years.
It's been fun. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bill.
Okay, I'd like to open up the last public hearing on special event permits. It's the Harriman Hale Post 18 of the American Legion to hold the Independence Day Parade July 4th, 2018 from 7 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Parade to start at 10 a.m. Starting at North Main Street to Brewster Academy. And that's going rain or shine?
No, there's a rain date, if you notice, for the 5th.
The rain, and I'll add that, and the rain date of July 5th.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
State your name for the record.
My name is Harold Chamberlain, no relation to the guy at the town hall. And I've been doing this since 1994, and it's been working out pretty well, the way we're doing it. We line up at Bassett Road, Larry Road, Old Lakeview Terrace, and the fire department usually follows in the back. Forest Road, they direct their own traffic, and we have a 4th division. I put our beloved politicians in the rear of the parade because they cannot be judged due to our American Legion national bylaws. So we can't be thought to be favoring any particular politician unless every member of the Legion, the national group, agrees to it, which I doubt we can agree to anything that well, so.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to this event? Hearing none, I'd like to close the public hearing. Board members, do you have any comments?
I move to approve the issuance of a temporary outdoor event permit to hold the Independence Day Parade, July 4th, 2018, from 7 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Parade start at 10 a.m., starting at North Main Street to Brewster Academy, with a rain date of July 5th.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
You have your permit.
Just for the knowing of it, I've got the use of the Great Hall for the trophies after the parade. That's been all approved, so just FYI. Thank you very much.
Thank
Yeah.
You.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is an application for a permit to serve and offer the sale of alcoholic beverage for consumption in the Town Hall building, and I'll read the public notice. The Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Thursday, June 14th, 2018 at 6:35 p.m. at the Wolfeboro Town Hall, Great Hall, 84 South Main Street, Wolfeboro, New Hampshire, to consider the application for the issuance of alcohol beverage permit to the Wentworth Watershed Association for their membership summer meeting on July 7th, 2018 at the Great Hall at Town Hall from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Do I have somebody here to speak to this?
Hi, my name's Ann Blodgett, and I'm president of the Wentworth Watershed Association. So the details are, every year we've had a membership meeting in the morning since the beginning of time, around the 4th of July. This year we've decided to combine two events and serve alcohol, not sell, serve. Mrs. Murray may be there to help chaperone.
Definitely.
So we're going to have a part meeting, part kickoff of the summer, and the public's welcome. Anybody who wants to become a member, we welcome them, so it's members and those interested. So for a change, we're not educating, we're enjoying each other's company and talking about the lakes.
Thank you. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to this event? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Board members, anybody have any questions or issues? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the issuance of an alcoholic beverages permit to the Wentworth Watershed Association for the membership summer meeting on July 7th, 2018 at the Great Hall at Town Hall from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? You're all set. Okay, next item on the budget, on the agenda is the bulk vote, the weekly manifest for June 1st and 8th. Property tax abatements and refunds. We have one denial on that. Property tax credits and exemptions. We have two approvals, one denial. We have notice of intent to cut wood and timber. We have 3 of those. We're going to release a barn preservation easement. That was the barn that caught fire up on North Main Street and burned to the ground. And we have yield tax levy warrants, and I would like to remove the first one. I have a conflict of interest on that, so I'll make that motion later. And then we have the raffle permits for the Kingswood Ladies Golf Club and Hospice House Tour. So I'd like to make a motion that we remove F1 from the bulk vote. Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'd like a motion to accept all the other items in the bulk vote.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Dave, do you want to take the
I'll
next?
make a motion that we, on F1, that we approve that tax levy.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thanks, Dave. Okay, the next item on the agenda is new business, renaming Nancy's Way. Do you have anything to say on this?
I would only say that the Planning and Zoning Director has looked at the suggestions, and the 911 Coordinator agrees that it should be the first listed suggestion. Corinthians Way, sorry.
That's that one.
Try this
I
again.
have an editorial comment. I have an editorial comment. When this was first proposed in the 1980s, I said, where did the name, 1982, where did the name Corinthian come from? And the person said, well, we wanted to make it sound fancy. And I said, well, why don't you call it the Rockefeller Club? But anyway, Corinthian is, and that's how they got their name.
Just state your name for the record.
Ken Shefsick, president of the Yacht Club, and I'm representing the Yacht Club. And we had submitted 3 names, and actually we have an annual meeting later on in July, and we'd like to have the members pick one of those 3 names, if that works out all right, as long as they're all 3 are acceptable.
Okay, 911 weighs in because they reject similar sounding names, so they prefer your first choice.
They do?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
Why don't you read the first choice?
Corinthian Way.
Corinthian Way. Okay?
All right.
Thank you.
And is there any need for the planning board to weigh in on this? No. Okay, so once we have 911, we're fine, and we can do it just by a motion?
Yes.
Okay. Board members, does anybody like to give a motion?
I'll move that we rename Nancy's Way to Corinthian Way.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? You have our approval. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the investment policy. Treasurer John Burt, will you come on up?
Okay, this is my 14th year, I think, here on this policy. There's very little change from last year. The only change was that I changed the time element as how often I transferred money from the invoice cloud and the Parks and Rec cloud over. I do it about every week right now. But the priorities still retain security of the funds, the availability of money when needed, and the last and lowest priority is the return on the money that we have.
Okay. Does any board member have any questions?
I didn't catch your, what changed from the last document?
Okay, I had in the policy last year that every 3 days I would make a transfer of money. Now it's about every 4 or 5 days.
I see. But the rest of the document remains unchanged?
The rest of it remains exactly the same.
Okay, thank you.
Board members, anybody else have any questions? Do you want us to accept this, or are you just giving it to us as information?
No, I appreciate it if you would approve it, and I need a signed copy of these
Okay.
at a later date.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that we accept the annual Town of Wolfeboro investment policy as presented to us tonight by Town Treasurer John Burt. Do I have a
I'll second that.
What?
Can I just make a point on this?
You can, yep.
Yes.
John, do we mean to update the policy for 2018? This document is 2017.
No, it's 2018 on top, isn't it? Okay, I missed that.
Mine's got 2017, so I'm fine with it as long as we
Okay.
just amend it to 2018.
Yes, sir.
And
Sorry, I missed that one.
I will change my motion to include that this document be updated to 2018. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank
Okay,
you.
one other thing. Got a note from Mr. O'Brien, and I've prepared some information here. Got a copy for everybody.
I have an extra one.
Okay.
Did you get one?
Thank you, John.
Be willing to discuss it with anybody at any time. With this, the data is for fiscal year 20 or calendar year 2017. That's there's very little change in the interest rates that I have shown.
Okay.
Here. The stuff on the back side is trash.
I was when I looked at it saying, what's
This
the
is your
deal with
saving
that?
paper thing,
You
right?
recycle.
Okay, I'll just-
I know.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Okay.
Okay. You're welcome.
All right, next item on the agenda is a discussion of the highway expenditures and over expenditures for the winter, and it should say 2018. Mr. Ford?
Thank you. So I guess we reported maybe in the first quarter we were having some overages, and I updated the snow budget. And just the snow budget is really pieces of the overall budget. That so we have overtime dedicated for summer, and fuel for the whole year. But so looking at it, we're projecting potentially with 6 weeks to go from Thanksgiving to Christmas, $24,000 overage. So we are, and I think you might have got a worksheet showing my division, highway divisions, all the costs, and I'd come up with certain areas where we could cut back to save some money to offset this, specifically not putting in any guardrail, doing any crack sealing, and cutting less trees, which would help kind of take care of that. However, I continue to look at the budget and some other issues that have come up which are critical. Pete went out for bids on fuel. As you know, our diesel price goes from July 1st to June 30th. So we have a budget based on last year's, and then the new prices came in, I think 43 cents a gallon more. And when you apply that to half the year, highway is looking about maybe, and with the extra gallons we used in February, about a $9,000 overage there on fuel. It's also bad news because Public Works Garage, which is another division of Public Works, buys all the fuel, and then we resell it. So they're going to be over budget also on that line item. And then every division will have increases over budget. So that's a significant, and that's locked in. The diesel's locked in. The gasoline, we don't use a lot of gas on highway, but for the rest of the town departments, that is subject to, the bid is the rack price plus a certain amount. And if these fuel prices continue to go up, then it could be somewhat significant for the other divisions. In the garage, what I'm projecting, that overall there'd be about 5,000 over on the gasoline if the price doesn't change from today for the next 6 months. And again, about the $9,000 overage, because again, we're the biggest user of diesel, although fire and electric department also be impacted there. So those are, and usually this time of year I don't get too nervous, but we also have an employment issue, which I don't know if we want to talk about that here, but we have an issue which is also going to impact our budget. So we are going to have to make additional moves one way or another. And I don't know if you have any questions, or I don't think we have to make any decisions right today because we have 6 months left in the budget.
But you have, from what I'm gathering, you have targeted areas where you're going to try to cut back before, right now, in terms of what you...
I've got some of my overages covered by cutting back. I don't have some other numbers which are pretty significant, and I'm concerned because of the fuel prices, and you know that also feeds heating bills might be a little over budget, And have already initiated a lot of our construction projects, so we are going to have to back off on those. I talked to Becky today about us having to, in the past years, when a certain department was way over budget with a welfare or something, we would say, hey, we got to put a freeze on any non-discretionary spending. We may have to look at that this year. Usually Public Works can help out other ones because we have such a big budget. But this year we might have to look to other departments and seeing if we can cut back, on our capital outlay projects or other things. So we need to look at the whole budget, I think, versus just our individual highway budget, because clearly we're going to have some issues this year.
Do you think you should come back to in front of us in September and see where we are to?
I don't think we can wait that long.
Okay.
I think we're going to have to keep a close eye on it. I think we're going to have to talk about this, the employee issue.
So you'll be back to see us soon to address it? Is that what you're telling me?
I think Becky and I should have a discussion and within a month come back, and we might have to discuss some of this in non-public.
Okay. Brad?
I just had one thing, Dave. On Tuesday, I was notified by Emergency Management Director in Ospey that the governor declared that Carroll County was awarded for one of the storms in April there, declaration of emergency, thank you. And I don't know which storm it is yet and stuff. I don't know if you've been aware of that or not. And
yeah, Barry, we had the windstorm, right? That was when there was a lot of wind damage. And most of our response would not qualify because it's only the overtime and then it'd be some of the truck. So at the time, we didn't think, because now a dollar would make, but it probably wouldn't be worth the effort. And right now, my manpower is, I don't have the time to chase that. So Barry did come to me because he is putting in, because he had quite a bit of damage. So the electric department get reimbursed. But it would be a lot of paperwork and it wouldn't be much there because most of the time we spent was in overtime.
Right.
And there's little we can recover.
Okay. Just want to make sure
we knew about it.
Yeah.
Any of the board members have any questions for Dave? So we'll see you in a month or so with an update and take a good look at, with you and Becky, and look at the budget and see what we should do.
Yes.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dave.
Thank you. You didn't get a chance to get in the memo on the freight storage building?
No, I did not.
All right, then we'll have to, I don't know if we wanted to talk about that at all. Tomorrow we're meeting with the master plan facilities or community facilities, and we're going to be discussing the freight building. So I had put together a memo of what's going on with that. John Sims, who's with the Lakes Region Model Railroad Museum Association, they're the nonprofit that we've been working with in terms of creating, we hope, a successful project there. But he is realizing that it's costing a lot more than originally anticipated, and he's got 2 major grants he's applied for. If they don't go through, then that project could be in jeopardy, and we may be wanting to discuss what else we could do with that building. And I think it's pertinent that when the master planning is talking about it and the selectmen, we should keep this on the agenda. While we did extend the time from December 2018 to December 2021,
20, I think it was.
it will have a major impact on the road construction. If the building goes through, we have a design based on where the building would be, but if we can't build the road because the building is so close to the road, we can only build half the road, because when they do the foundation, the proposal is to jack the building, put a full foundation in. To have a safe construction, we have to be back a certain distance, would bring us into the road. So I don't think it'd be wise for us to construct the road with this project. And if this project doesn't go through, which is a possibility, then we might design the road differently. We might move the building to make the road safer. So there's a lot of options.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do anything at this time that might affect their 2 grants that are out there. No. And so I think I think it's not that long before that money should come in. I think it's by September. I think they probably should know.
Yes, it'll be the fall, yeah.
Yeah. And I would imagine that you're going to hold up on doing anything to that extension until we know that. It would be one of those things we could put off to another year.
Yes, I see that at this point now with things going on, that we'll have to hold off on that road construction. So that $70,000 that was part of the $870 will not get spent for that.
Is there any other selectmen who would like to say something?
Seeing that the signs on that building refer to Wolfeboro Oil Company, and we own the building, I would recommend that if the condo owners would like to have that sign removed, that we just go ahead and do it. You know, all the private condos that face that.
I didn't realize that was an issue.
Well, I don't think it is, but but maybe somebody living in the condos would rather not have Wolfeboro Oil Company storage on a sign building next to it. It doesn't make a difference to me. It's just a thought.
I haven't heard anyone complain about it, so
No complaints. I spent some time last week going over that area inch by inch and seeing all the private parking places that are being rented by Avery Agency and Maxfield. Very impressive.
Well, I think, again, why I'm saying it's pertinent now, because all this master plan committees are meeting, that's a critical part of our area. We have a really important piece of land there, and behind that, John Sims has purchased the rights, to that parking lot. He owns the parking lot, and, it's something to think about, how we want that to go. Do we want to be proactive and drive it, or do we want to be reactive and just wait and see what happens? So I just figured I'd bring it to discussion. We have a memo that lays everything out, talks about the 3 warrant articles over the last 3 years, and we'll have a discussion tomorrow. So I just want to make sure the selectmen knew that we're going to be discussing. Not that we make any decision. It's still our first choice is to support the.
That's what I want to make sure everybody doesn't get off and not realize that that's where our support, and we have a warrant article out there from the voters supporting it, and when we hear that they are not going to go forward, then I think we have an issue to deal with, and it should be addressed, and it should be done before the master plan gets too far down the line. So, any other selectmen have any comments? Okay. Anything else?
Just unless, if you're on to old business, then I can talk about the Route 28, or are you?
That's you more than welcome to do that, Dave.
Moving right along.
I'll let you do it instead of me.
Well, Matthew and I are obviously working together with the steering committee. So we had a good meeting 2 weeks ago in which I think the board had said, let's go back and grind. And we did have a good discussion about the 3 options for Pickering Corner. I think we're all in agreement with the rest of the corridor. But the Pickering Corner, which just for the general public, we have been looking at a traffic light, a roundabout, and then what we call an enhanced version of what we have now. And we are looking at it with regards to a lot of different criteria in terms of aesthetics, keeping the town charm, look at pedestrian safety. So all those things we're looking at and everything, I think we came to agreement with everyone on the committee agreeing that the best solution would be an enhancement of what we have, and that any of the other options may create problems until excuse me, I just lost my train of thought there. So we are now working on this report. The enhanced version has lots of conditions. And the intent of this report, which will come back to you so we can send it to DOT, and DOT is waiting to hear what we have to say. It says what we think, how we could enhance the present condition, and then give it to the DOT. And once they start doing the engineering, they'll come back to the town and hopefully have more detail. Because the one thing we don't have is cost estimates for the options, and we don't have a traffic model to see what would happen with the roundabout or the traffic light. So there are concerns that those solutions may solve one problem, but then create potentially other problems.
Dave, I want to have a official picture taken in the first Becky meeting here. You stand there.
As he's standing
Natural.
there. Look natural. He's frozen.
Dave, I think there was one element that we had talked to Brewster Academy, and Brewster Academy agreed not to move its entrance to that corner.
Okay, I didn't even talk about that. So Brewster Academy was willing to work with us because under the traffic light and the roundabout, one of the conditions would be, from a traffic perspective, to move their road, which is about 150 feet, the main entrance, to tee up with Center Street.
Thank you very much.
That would create a whole bunch of issues, moving the Richardson House
and monuments, yeah.
and the monuments, which became huge as we looked at the Civil War monuments and the other monuments, and as well as so I think that was a key criteria, and they were willing to go either way. So when we said we're leaning this way, they said agree, and they agreed with us that the enhanced version might be their biggest concern is the pedestrians and the students having safe travel. So I think we're looking at potentially creating a very slow zone between the crosswalk at Brewster's and Missions and the crosswalk at Carpenter School, maybe slowing that down to 20 miles an hour. Better lighting, better guidance to the vehicles with regards to pavement markings and signs. And
Wasn't there, we were talking about adding another crosswalk
yes.
from Three Sisters back to the Brewster side to try to stop some of the jaywalking?
Right, to try to make them legal and also to tell the drivers who are heading north to slow down because they have this zone, we have a crosswalk, and get in the right lane so people coming up Center Street know where you're at. So I think it has, it's a unusual solution to an unusual problem. And it's not done yet, so just so everyone is aware, we'll wrap up the report. We hope to get to you that next month. And then it'll go to DOT, and then the DOT will come back, and we'll have some more public meetings. So if anyone has any other comments from the public, they can certainly send it to us, and then there'll be more to come. And this project still is not scheduled till 2024, so we are 6 years ahead of the game.
And we, the Board of Selectmen, are going to put some kind of a cover letter on top of it. So I'm going to go down. Paul?
Do you know when they're going to do the traffic modeling?
My understanding would be they would start, they're waiting to see what we have to say, and then they could start later on this year.
And how long does it take them to do that? I mean, is it
It all depends on who their contractor is and how they're going to analyze it. So normally they could, do a week of counts, hopefully in the busy time, and then they could model it in another month. So we could have some answers maybe by the end of this year. But again, I don't know what their work schedule is.
Got it. Thank you.
Brad, do you have any comments?
No, I think probably just one question is when they, once you get your report into them, Dave, will they work on just the one top suggestion, or will they continue on working on all three elements to develop costs and effectiveness and rating and stuff like that still going down the road?
I'm going to give you my opinion, but it's only my opinion. I believe from my brief discussions with the project manager is that they're worried that they don't have enough money to do the project as proposed. Mm-hmm. So that our option is obviously the much lower cost. So I don't think they're going to spend a lot of money trying to justify a higher cost. So I don't think they're going to spend much time on that. Okay. And I think we'll be focusing more on what their concerns would be with their standards versus what we're asking. Because I think there'll be some button of heads there. So we're going to have to fight. For instance, this crosswalk, they wouldn't want to give it to us. We think it's important. We're going to want to reduce the speed limit to 20 miles an hour. They're not going to want to do that. But if it was a roundabout, 20 miles an hour is the speed limit for a roundabout. So we're going to have to work with them, and the context-sensitive solutions is what we have going for us. We're trying to find a solution that fits our context here in Wolfeboro. It's not a roundabout that's in the Weirs or somewhere else. It's Wolfeboro. So I think that's going to help us, and that's why we have time. So we're going to be back and forth. So we're going to have to, have some good discussions with them.
Good.
Dave?
I'm all set.
Dave?
I should remind the audience that the Board of Selectmen had a meeting a year or two ago. Should we call it a rotary, a traffic circle, a roundabout, and we voted on roundabout. Do you remember that? Maybe you don't remember that. Roundabout is official, but we can change it.
Mean in terms of the word to use?
Pardon?
Mean the word to use?
Yes.
Yeah.
I like trivia, you know.
I do know that, yes. Okay, all righty. Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, David.
Okay, we have other business, and Brad, I think you have something?
Yeah. We have the feasibility study starting up on the Libby Museum, and we've had conversation. I had a conversation with Alana last week, met with her for a while, and we talked at the Friends of Libby Museum board too and stuff about the idea of developing a, I want to call it a building committee, or a committee to kind of work along with a feasibility study and then progress into, if it goes into a renovation, addition, whatever comes out of that for the Libby, have the board see what their interest was in establishing a committee like that. My initial thought was to maybe have one person from the Board of Selectmen on it, a person from the Friends of Libby, probably Alana on it, say, Becky on it, represent the town, if Dave or Matt or somebody, representing the town on the building committee part of it, whether one of those two or Adam or somebody like that. And maybe somebody from the foundation that's funding 2/3 of the cost of this. So I just want to put that out there for discussion and see what the board thought.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, we have done that with some of our other buildings, and when you bring a group of people together like that, you have a bunch of good ideas that come out of it. Does any member of the board have any issue with it, or? Okay, I'll make a motion that we support forming that ad hoc committee. And do you want to, Brad, get a list of names and we'll put them on?
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All righty, moving forward on that. The other item I have under other business, when Dave Owen was still here, we went through and we came up with CIP goals. We decided to hold off on taking an official vote until Becky came, and I showed them to Becky, and she had no issues. I know the planning department has moved forward on this, but I'd like to get an official vote of the board to accept these as our 2019 budget CIP goals.
I'll move we accept those.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I have one other business. I picked up the brochure about the parade, and I was wondering whether the Board of Selectmen would like to go into the parade with Becky, show our new town manager off as we come down through. Are you going to be here the 4th?
Apparently, I'm contractually bound to be Rosie the Riveter this year.
Oh, you are?
So anyone who would like to join me, I would love the support.
In the parade?
Yes, in the parade.
There's a lot of,
Airplane.
Rosie the Riveter candidates.
Rosie the Riveter. So, okay. You're going to be in it anyhow. We'll just have to get a sign for you. All righty. Does anybody else have any other business? Yep.
So under old business, I was presented with a contract to sign for the new fire equipment. And I just wanted to receive your permission to do that. There's a 5% retainage, so the contractual price was $582,488. We would pay over $553,364 on delivery. And with your permission, I'll go ahead and execute that contract.
Anybody have any issue? We dealt with it the last meeting, and we're all in support. That's what you had given us before. Yes. Okay. Right ahead.
That was it.
Now you get town manager's report. Got anything else for us?
I'm going to be Rosie the Riveter. I don't know if there's a male counterpart to that, but we can dust that guy off too.
Well,
I enjoyed my first couple of weeks, and I want to thank the board for all their support.
You have to have a Kilroy with here sign. That's World War II also.
Okay, we're on to committee reports. I'll start all the way down there. Paul?
So we had our Master Plan Energy Subcommittee today. We've had a couple since I think we last got together. Things are going along well. We had the good fortune of Barry Muccio, who leads our municipal electric department, to come in and share his views on things. For those of you who don't know Barry and his team, I would just say outstanding people, and they're working really hard for us. And so great things from Barry. Police Commission next week. I was absent from the last one, being out of town, and I had the good pleasure of taking our new town manager over to Wright Museum and introduced her after getting her a cup of coffee at one of our coffee shops. But Becky got an opportunity to get a chance through the Wright Museum, and I think they also tried to recruit you to be Rosie the Riveter as well. So there's probably a number of those. So that's my report.
Brad?
Yeah, since the, seems like many weeks since we've met here before here, we had earlier this month, we had a community TV meeting. We had a planning board meeting. Last night we had our subcommittee for the master plan for infrastructure and transportation. We had our first meeting last night. It went well. There's a couple of you others were in attendance there for that. And that's about it.
Hey, Dave?
I've been on the land use committee. We've met probably 3 or 4 times since we met the last time. And the same, I'm on the buildings committee. That's come pretty much to an end at this point. I think Matt and the group is going to have a get-together about that. I think it's tomorrow, right?
Dave?
We had a library committee meeting. The library's coming along nicely. They have some budget problems. For example, things coming in over budget, like, for example, the landscaping and whatever might cost more than $100,000, whatever. And I recommended to the library that they get all their costs together and maybe look for some more donations. But anyway, it's a very dynamic committee. And on the private side, I've been documenting photographically all the 65 or 67 miles of roads we have in Wolfeboro, taking notes. And then as time permits, I'm going to go on the private roads. I received an invitation from a lady the other day of Hidden Valley, which is up near the waste disposal. Very complicated development, an early development that has frontage on a lower beach pond and a beach and everything else, which I don't know much about. But there's not too much documentation at the Wolfeboro Historical Society or elsewhere of systematic photographs on things if you want to find them. So I'll turn all this over to the Wolfeboro Historical Society after I organize it.
Okay, I attended the Route 28 Steering Committee, and Dave Ford gave you all the information on that. I've been meeting regularly every Friday with the Community Facilities group. We have visited the Libby, the bathhouses and beaches, and the fire department substation. I attended a joint board milfoil committee meeting. We sat down with Amy Smagula, who is the head of DES invasive plants or species. We had a conversation with her. We were not pleased with the company that did our hand pulling with the dash unit last year. We're already seeing a lot of regrowth in Back Bay, and we told her about our concerns and how they performed. She was going to help us look for maybe a possibility of another contractor. The other option was possibly wait until we do our chemical treatment in September. But when I looked down there today at the railroad station docks, that's not going to be possible. It's growing. So we're trying to address who we can get to do a better job at using the dash and hand pulling. I went to Emergency Management Committee meeting, and Dave, you were with me on that one. I have attended the Chamber quarterly meeting, and my report was to bring Becky and introduce her to the Chamber of Commerce. I was at their executive board meeting today. I joined Brad at the Infrastructure and Transportation, and I had a meeting with the Friends of the Town Hall. And it's been about 3 weeks or so I didn't do that all in 1 week.
What did you do in your spare time?
Oh, I took care of the grandkids. All right, next item on the agenda, questions from the press? No? This is the time for public input. It's limited to 3 minutes per person and not to exceed 15 minutes in all. Do I have anybody in the audience? Come on up to the microphone, state your name.
Thank you. My name is Will Corcoran. Our family lives on Wilmbeck Road. Madam Chair, honorable members of the board, and congratulations, Becky. Welcome to our beautiful town. I held on to Harold for moral support here. I would like to ask the board to consider putting a warrant out at our next voting time to adopt 7228B, which is the veterans optional veterans credit for all veterans, not just those who were lucky enough to serve during war. In terms of fiscal impact, I'm in my 25th year as the Dover City Assessor. We have a population of 31,000, and we adopted that 2 years ago, and we've had 12 applicants. So if I can give some homilies, just a couple. A close friend of mine who's younger than me, but he joined the service in the end of 1975. 1975, there was nothing going on, okay, so they don't get credit. But he served 6 years at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean tracking Russian trawlers and whatnot. When a person signs up to be a military person, you give your life, and you do your orders, you do what you're told. You may have to sit in an office, you may have to be sitting with a 35 millimeter, you do what you're told. And I think it's really unfair to those people who didn't happen to serve during qualifying periods. So I urge you strongly to consider this. I think it would be an honorable thing to do. And frankly, I speak to many vets, and I speak to those. I have a number of professionals in town here who do not get this because they didn't serve during the right periods, Vietnam War, Korean, etc. And they feel like second-class citizens because they didn't get to fight, or they didn't get to, it's absurd to me. These people are equal to Harold and I, who were unfortunate enough to be in Vietnam. Well, I don't say unfortunate. I feel fortunate to serve this country and did what I did. I served 2 tours in Vietnam, 67, 68. And Harold has more scars than I have. But we're no better than anybody who takes the oath. So I respectfully ask that you consider this. It would be something that taxpayers would have to vote for. And if there's any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
Any board members have any questions? I would say that we ask Becky to put in a file for warrant articles when we go over them. And we do those in November, but we will take your advice on that, and if everybody's in agreement. Anybody have any issue with that?
No, I'd be supportive of that, so. Yep.
Dave?
Fine.
Yep. So we'll do that. We'll put it on the warrant for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Harold, for hanging around. Only.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that clarity. Can you do it in the microphone, or can you repeat what he said so in the microphone so the people at home can hear it?
Yes, the standard requirement is you must have an honorable discharge. And there are other kinds, bad conduct, undesirable, under honorable, etc. But those people do not qualify either for license plates or the veterans credits around the state. So you have to be honorably discharged, which means you had to be a good boy, at least not get caught.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Is there anybody else?
My name is Anthony Quinn. I live on Winnipesaukee Drive. I've talked to you previously about Winnipesaukee Drive, but I don't want to talk to you about that tonight, except that I submitted a petition in January, and the petition is still waiting to be heard. It was scheduled originally for March and was canceled. And the reason given was that B&H Development was in bankruptcy and that the bankruptcy court was working on trying to sell the properties. Well, as you may or may not know, the properties had encumbered on it the road. So the bankruptcy court was asking $199,000 for 24 building lots, but the road went with it. Zero. In the end, the bankruptcy trustee wiped his hands clean of Winnipesaukee Hill Estates and the 24 building lots. I had tried time and time again to convince the previous town manager that taking the road out of the equation would certainly make it easier for them to sell the lots, allowing you to recover nearly $100,000 in back taxes, and to allow us residents to recoup our well in excess of $100,000 in legal fees. Over and over again, the town lawyer recommended that this not be heard. And so here we sit with the only option left is that the town exercise their tax lien and become a realtor to sell the properties in order to recover your back taxes. I'm looking right now for a hearing on the petition. It was originally my intent that we jointly get reimbursed for all that's owed to us from the bankruptcy court, but that's long gone. So now I have a petition sitting in the wings, waiting to be heard for the town to take Winnipesaukee Drive and Knights Pond Lane. And I'm not going to discuss that tonight. That's a lot longer situation. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Thank you. Do I have anybody else? I'm going to go here and then I'll go to you. If you, yeah, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Paul Abard, and I want to raise a concern to you and ask tonight that you leave here with considering the situation. I'm not asking for a decision or any kind of motion. Any town, as this one, has more rigid regulations about how building permits are issued for Class 6 roads than they do for Class 5. But what about a situation where a Class 5 road is only accessible by a Class 6 road? That's the situation that I'm on. I'm on North Wakefield Road. It's on the outskirts of town. It's remote. You have to leave town to get to it, come up through Route 16. You might know about that. I don't believe that road gets the standard attention of a Class 5 road, and understandably so. It's remote. We get that. When we moved there, there was not a whole lot of residents on the road. There's a lot of little camps, hunting camps sort of thing. Right now, one of those camps has since been sold, and it's being inhabited by a couple that always seems to be towing a trailer either to work or for pleasure. A lot of traffic from that. On the other side of me, there's a little camp that has since been purchased by somebody else and has been permitted to get expanded, and the owner has let me know his plans are to retire and move there and live there. Currently across the street from me is another summer home that was hardly ever used except on weekends by a lovely couple that has since passed away, and I expect that'll probably follow the same way. So the road's seeing a whole lot more traffic than it ever has before. It's not getting a whole lot more attention. There are seasons where I can't take a sedan down the road. I have to abandon my commuter car and take a four-wheel drive to get to work. It's a difficulty. It's a hardship. So there's more and more traffic happening all the time on that road. Excuse me. So what I'm asking is some sort of mitigation so that a Class 5 road that is only accessible by way of a Class 6 road be under the similar governances as a Class 6 road, so that it doesn't find itself in a situation like this that puts a hazard for the homeowners that are there and for any first responders. Yes?
Have you talked to David Ford about this? Our DPW manager, David Ford, have you talked to him?
No.
You probably should interface with him because he makes recommendations to the board, and we'll try, speaking for myself personally, we'll try to make everything work that can work that is reasonable. But David supervises the maintenance of the highways, and if you talk with him, is that right, David? You can have a good discussion about this? I mean, does that make sense? Okay.
Very good. Thank you. Any other questions? I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Have you been up there? Take a ride up there. Going from.
Good evening. My name is Lenore Benoit. I also reside at Winnipesaukee Estates. And I just ask that you do take the petition seriously. We are all residents of Wolfeboro. We love our town. We support our town. We support small business. We pay our taxes. It's very important to us that we get to go home on a normal road like everybody, most people in Wolfeboro get to do. Just please take that petition seriously and make sure that it gets heard, because there's a lot of people out there that really are working very hard, and it's to no fault of anybody that lives in that development that we are stuck with the road that we are stuck with. It wasn't our fault. Somebody had gone bankrupt. We bought in Wolfeboro because we love this town. And so we just request that you listen to what he's saying and really support the petition. It's very important to everybody that lives there. And that's all I'd like to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on up.
Good evening. I also live on Winnipesaukee Drive.
Could you just state your name?
And here.
Yes, my name is Angela Samartano. I am relatively new to New Hampshire and to Wolfeboro. My husband, Michael, and I bought our home about a year ago. We had a little difficulty with our closing because of all the craziness that's involved with the road and the association. We're here to support our neighbor who is greatly advocating for us, and we truly appreciate all his efforts. I would also strongly urge you to take our petition seriously. And if you are not familiar with our street, I would like each and every one of you to one day take a ride down Winnipesaukee Drive and think, if you had to live there, what would you do? Because we're stuck in the middle between bankruptcy, the town, no one taking us seriously. So do that for us. Take a ride down Winnipesaukee Drive and let us know next time we're here, because we'll keep coming back to support our petition. And hopefully each time we'll have more and more residents to come with us. So if you could keep that in mind, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think everyone on this board has driven down that road.
Yeah, well, then you know how horrible it is and how unsafe it is. I've walked my dog down that street and I've tripped in broad daylight. And yes, we can get to where we need to go, but you have to drive slowly. It's dangerous, and it's heartbreaking for me to see some of my elderly neighbors going out there trying to fill potholes with dirt so that other people don't get hurt. It's disgraceful. It's absolutely disgraceful. So please take our petition seriously. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Okay. All righty. I would like a motion to go into non-public session.
So moved.
Second?
Okay. Paul?
Yes.
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 Yes? Dave, yes. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.